Hello everybody and a very warm welcome to One Hub Racing Season 27, and it is the final episode of the pre-race talk show, and it's going to be a very special one this afternoon. We're going to be discussing the championship for all three tiers as well as the championship permutations for P2 and P1. We've already had one champion crowned, but who will join Jacob to be a champion for season 27? All to be revealed by the end of tonight, but we're going to preview it a bit now. My name is Jess Ball, and joining me as usual for the final time this season is Colin. Colin, how you doing, mate?
Afternoon, Jess. Afternoon, all. Well, I've been excited for this afternoon all week, I gotta be honest. Champions to be decided in P1 and P2, constructors to be decided in all three tiers, and of course we still got second and third undecided as well in P3, with up to 4 drivers available to get that. So it's going to be a brilliant night of racing. I can't wait to get going.
I can't wait to get going either, and I'll say it again at the end of the stream, best of luck to anybody that's still in the running for a prize of some sort this season, because there's a lot of really competitive drivers in all three tiers. So best of luck to everybody. Brazil, a very short track. Of course, one driver that we could talk about that as one around here, we could talk about in a minute for the constructors, but it's such an iconic track. Everyone loves it. Fans, commentators, and even drivers.
Yes, and of course we've had some amazing title deciders in real Formula One around Brazil, as well as in One Hub as well. You know, you got the famous 2008 Formula One decider with Massa and Hamilton. You had Jenson Button winning the following year, the championship there. Of course, you had 2010 with Vettel as well. So, yeah, it's going to be, certainly a fan favourite.
It is a fan favourite, and to have an idea on how people should take the track tonight, here is a hot lap around Brazil, driven by yours truly, Colin R. Mason. Welcome along to a very crucial race for a lot of our championship contenders. It's a fan favourite for drivers, spectators and commentators alike. It is Interlagos for our championship finale. This lap is sponsored by Sim Racing Setups. As you enter turn number 1, brake yourself to 100 metre board and turn in sharply on the inside whilst in third gear and hug the apex. Carry as much speed as you possibly can throughout turn 2 and 3 of the centre S's. You need to use the curbs on both sides. It's very, very important. This is a fast left-hander coming up towards turn 4. Brake 80 metres before the corner and use all the curbing on the inside to aid the rotation of the car. Stay flat through turn number 5 and you'll be aiming for a slight lift on the throttle into Ferradura turn number 6. Go down to 6th gear through this right uphill section of the track that follows the downhill section of turn 7. Let the car rotate through the apex into third gear and aim for the left-hand side to gain a good exit into this sharp right-hander coming up. You'll need to brake hard and late for the corner, turning in sharply and clipping the apex a little bit. Third gear is preferred. This is a fast left-hander coming up as you head towards the final 2 corners. Brake slightly earlier, don't use too much curbing on the inside as that could settle the car very badly. And now you'll be heading towards Jung South, DRS wide open, 7th, 8th gear, and that is our final hot lap of the season around Interlagos. Good luck everybody for tonight. So, that was a quick rundown of what to expect around Brazil, and of course qualifying is going to be absolutely crucial tonight to get ahead of your rivals. So, we're going to talk about each tier in turn. This tier we're about to show you is the only tier that has the title crowned already. But as Colin said, we've got P2 and P3 still to be decided between these 3 lovely people of Matthias, JR Mason and Ride Dog. That's for P2 in the championship. Gaza could still potentially get P3 in the title, but he's going to need a miracle with everyone else around him DNFing in order for that to happen. But these 3 drivers, they've been looking really, really good. Matthias and JR Mason looking good at the start of the season. Ride Dog picking up a few wins. You can see the stats here, Cole. It's relatively close.
It's very, very close. It's going to be very, very difficult to call this, I got to be honest. Ride Dog is the driver in form. He got second last week by a Nazem. He won in Singapore, so Rydog is certainly the driver on form. Matthias and Mason have been very, very close all season long. But I know Matthias is particularly good around Brazil, but so is Mason. So it's going to be very, very difficult to call this one, Jess.
It is, and I don't know how you and Nick are going to do the maths, but luckily you've done a lovely spreadsheet, so that's all good. So in terms of standings, obviously Burjak's not racing in a tier anymore, and he's on 87 points. He's tied with Matthias on 87. So in order for Matthias to be in the running for any prizes, he's got to outscore Burjak's by a singular point. But Matthias has got to understand he's got JR Mason on 86 points, Rydog on 78 points. Those are the two drivers that they got to keep an eye on as well. Matthias is the only driver out of all three drivers to have not picked up a race win this season. Everyone else in this little lineup has picked up at least one win. So we've got I'm just trying to see actually. JR Mason has picked up one win. Rydog's picked up two. And Matthias has picked up 0. So Matthias got a lot of work to do. But yeah, Rydog is definitely the one who's definitely improving. But I'm just trying to think if Rydog's had a DNF. Nobody hasn't, whereas the other two have. So it's shown that pretty much majority of drivers could make mistakes.
Yeah, exactly that. And it is a type of track where it's easy to make a mistake. DNFing, not so easy. But this is one of the old school tracks where there's not a lot of concrete runoff. There is a bit, but there is a lot of grass. So you could lose an absolute ton of time if you make a mistake. And each one of these drivers can't really afford to make one tonight.
They can't, and I think we could potentially see, if they're not careful, quite a bit of contact. And we have warned the drivers, Cole, that the other drivers that are not in championship contention for both the drivers or the constructors to really just be careful tonight, because we do not want titles to be decided in any tier in the stewards room. We want the title to be decided at, say, well, half 7 in P2 tier and at 9 o'clock in P1 tier. We don't want to wait until Thursday morning for the title to be decided. So it is going to be close. And we also got to bear in mind with this as well, Burjats could be in danger of getting points deductions due to car wear. Obviously, nobody knows who's taken their car wear, but everyone has to take it. Burjax hasn't taken one of them yet, so he could be in danger of losing points, but we'll confirm it once we know more. Colin has worked some maths in the background about Gazza and Miles. Miles saying in the chat, needs a Timo Glock to help him get third. Unfortunately, Cole, even with Burjax missing tonight, I don't think Miles is going to aim to get third in the title, but he could still get fourth.
Yes, he could get fourth. So if the best he could really hope for is a win and the fastest lap, that will give him 21 points. Now that will actually put him just ahead of Matthias on countback of wins, but obviously that will require Mason and Rydog not to score points, basically. So it's a very, very, very small chance for Miles, and the same with Gazza. Gazza being on 68 points. So he really needs, if he wants to be in the hunt, really needs a victory this evening.
Yeah, I think so as well. Of course, Miles and Gazza have been looking quite strong this season already. It's a shame Gazza didn't make last week because he was in sunny Greece. But Miles, his worst finish was last week in Mexico. All the other finishes, he's finished the lowest at P6. Miles has been very consistent. If Miles stays in P3 next season, he definitely could be in a shout for the title within his first season, and he's doing remarkably well.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And very consistent, actually, to be fair. So he's had 4th, 6th, 6th, 5th, 4th, 4th, 9th. So if he actually started at the start of the season, he would be up there now fighting for the podium places without a doubt.
Yeah, And I have to say, fair play to Miles for doing a really, really good job. In some places, you could be faster than me, but there we go. And it's not just a driver's call for P3. We've got the Constructors' Championship to be decided for P3. Now, one thing we got to bear in mind, Cole, is Fury Formula has got a race ban due to the fact that he was feeling very naughty in last week's race around Mexico. Of course, he apologised to all the drivers. He understood why he got that penalty. So he is a bit disappointed, but he didn't get too frustrated, which does mean Vitinho is going to be the only driver that scores points in tonight's race for Ferrari. And you can see on your screen that McLaren and Mercedes are definitely the ones on form. If they can keep that trajectory, they will definitely overtake Ferrari, and Ferrari could drop down to third. So Ferrari on 187 points, McLaren on 184, and Mercedes on 176. If I was to get my salary, joking, if I was to bet some money on it, I would have to go, my prediction, McLaren would get the Constructors. They seem to be the one that's on form at the minute.
Yes, I do tend to agree. You can see, in the last two races, or three really, 34 points, 22 and 35 points. They only need to outscore Ferrari by 3 points. And they've got an extra driver as well, effectively, with Fury getting a race ban. So that's going to be something that the drivers are going to have to be a bit wary of. But we know how close these two McLarens have got. Now, they've been racing wheel to wheel for many weeks now. The last thing they want to do is have an accident.
Definitely not. And also, McLaren could thank Kine and Zonta for scoring quite well in the races before they joined the league, because those points count towards the championship as well. So if McLaren do win the Constructors' title, they've also got Zonta and Kine to thank. And I do believe, if I'm not too mistaken, they could be up for prizes as well if McLaren end up winning the title, because Zonta and Kine contributed quite a significant amount towards it.
Yes, exactly that. So I think it was the last. Let's have a look.
Singapore was the
last
first
5
race
races. Yeah.
that Lawrence and Joe competed together in the McLaren, and I think it was the race before that in particular where they scored a huge amount of points.
Yes, and one thing that Nick and I noticed as well is, the level of practice that a driver does dramatically improves their races. Joe was not really in any practice sessions whilst he was in P2, but has been in many in P3. And that is a big contributing factor to why Joe is getting some very, very good results lately.
I think practice could definitely help a driver a lot. I think we see that in many seasons. People get less motivated if they're in a higher tier and they think, they're not going to win a title. But speak from someone who wasn't in a position to win the title last season, but it's not this season. Being in a high tier gives you plenty of opportunities to improve racecraft, learn what the faster drivers are doing, and you get quicker from it, because you could see, this driver is finding a few tenths that way. It could probably edge you and improve a lot. So that's advice for next season. If you end up in a higher tier and not aim for a title, your main expectation is see what the faster drivers are doing around you and see what you can do to improve, Carl. And that's what I've been doing this season.
Yeah, that's the only way to get better, is to gauge yourself against better drivers. You ain't going to get better racing against drivers you're beating week in, week out. It's not going to happen. And if you don't put the time and effort in, you are not going to get the results that you wish. It's as simple as that. You can't not do any practice at all and then whinge that you're in the wrong tier, because it just means you're not doing enough practice,
Yes.
to be blunt. So, even doing 1 or 2 race practices will dramatically help you. And don't forget, there will be a practice session, I believe, at 2 o'clock today.
Yes,
Jess?
2 o'clock today. I think we do
for Brazil, obviously.
Yeah, we do 3 lots of practice sessions a week, Carl. We do one on Wednesday, which I hardly can make because I've got another league. And we do one on Friday and we do one on Sunday. So there's 3 opportunities for drivers to practice with pretty much a lot of the One Hub Racing grid and learn against faster drivers as well, which is quite impressive. But I'd like to wish everyone in P3 the best of luck for the constructors and for the runner-up spots. But now we get to the nitty-gritty, Cole. The titles, drivers' titles, still to be decided for P2 and P1. Let's start with P2, Cole, and look at how close this is. 172 points Morgan leads the championship from to Papa's 167. Literally, it could go either way. Both drivers have made mistakes. The stats look pretty even as well, if you look at it. It could go either way, I think.
Yes, it's obviously advantage Morgan at the minute because he does have that 5-point lead. That means if Papa wins the race, Morgan can afford to be second behind him. So it's certainly advantage Morgan at the moment, but this could go any way at all. This, to be honest, is probably going to be one of the most exciting season ends to a One Hub Championship in many, many years, I think. And you can see the stats there, like Jess said. It's so close.
And I'm honestly so happy that the tier that I'm in, this title fight, is just amazing. It's a shame Salau is not in that fight because if he didn't miss the race, I think he would have been up there. But those two, look, it started off with Papa looking so quick all season. We were like, yeah, Papa's gonna launch ahead. But suddenly, and don't forget Morgan, this is his first season league racing. So the amount of races he's done, you're generally going to improve, right? And we've seen him in the practice sessions. We've seen him trying to improve on his racecraft. And you can see the rewards are stacked in his favour at the moment between Morgan. And Papa, of course, made a few mistakes, but he's still in. But he's been, to be honest, Papa Squanch just led the championship since day dot. This is the only time, Colin, that he has not led the championship. Is the final round of the season.
Yeah, exactly that. Now, one thing that I was looking at last night was looking at different potential scenarios between the two drivers. Now, if Papa Squanch wins the race, Morgan finishes third but gets the fastest lap, they will be tied on points. Not only that, they'll be tied on number of wins. So that will mean it'll go down on how many second places the drivers would have had. So this could be an absolute blinder. Now, if it is on second places, that will mean that Papa nicks it. So, this could be uber close, and it's going to be really interesting to watch. You do get the impression that qualifying is going to be very, very important for these drivers. And, the nerves are going to be up there, Jess. How will these drivers handle the pressure?
We were going to speak to both of them in the commentary box, but unfortunately Papa's got a sore throat, bless him. So, Papa, if you're listening, get well soon. Hope you recover for this evening, of course. But we've got the permutations as provided by Cam. Basically, if Morgan finishes third with fastest lap, Papa's eliminated. Morgan wins the championship. But if anything else happens, there's a lot of other scenarios. And don't worry, your commentators will be given those list of permutations and will be able to go through them as the race goes on. Because P2, no offense, looks the most complicated, but that's probably the good thing. So basically, Papa must finish in the top 7 to stand any chance of winning the title, and then it's what Morgan needs to do as well. So that is going to be interesting. And we also got the constructors title for the P2 tier as well. That's now down to two teams. Why is it not letting me get in the constructors? There we go. Williams and Aston Martin, 11 points separating the two of them. I have to say, my money's on Williams because they have two outstanding drivers. Rich has been looking very quick on paper in terms of practice this weekend. I think I could see Williams taking the title, but if Aston Martin want to win the title, The second driver has got to perform. You can't rely on Morgan this race. The second driver has to perform.
Yeah, Mikey really needs, to be honest, he really could do with a podium.
Or a win.
With Morgan up on the podium with them. And then that will really give him a good chance for this Constructors' Championship. But this one, it might be advantage the Aston Martin driver in the drivers, but it's advantage Williams in the Constructors.
Yeah, and you can see the amount of points that each team has got over the last few races. It looked pretty even, 14 and 19 respectively. Of course, Mercedes, I think, had a 1-2, I believe, or a 1-3 in Mexico last week. Mercedes, I think, are almost certain to get third because my teammate is missing tonight. How could you? Unless Aston Martin have a bombshell of a race, Mercedes could still clinch second, but Mercedes are going to probably need a miracle to do that. But you could see the last few races, Williams and Aston Martin very even on point. It's going to take a miracle for Aston Martin to do it, but never say never with Aston Martin. I think my money's on Williams on that one. But who is your money, Cole, for the driver's title in P2? Do you think it's going to be Morgan or Papa?
I think Morgan's going to beat Papa tomorrow as well.
Tonight,
you
mean?
Tonight, sorry. God, listen to me. So I think Morgan is going to nick the championship. But Papa has just got to go out there with no fear and just go for it. He knows he's got to beat Morgan, and if he doesn't, then it's curtains for him.
Then it's game over. Yeah.
He has got to beat Morgan. But yeah, I think my money's going to be on Morgan for the championship.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts in the chat on who you think is going to be the champion whilst we interview one of the drivers. But I'm really excited for this. It's going to be at 6 p.m. J. Cole and Jamie on commentary. Luckily, they got the permutation in front of them, so they don't have to do some maths. But yeah, it is in Morgan's favour, so I think I'm going to keep it on Morgan. But you never know. We saw what happened in P2 last season. It was in Rich's favour until the final race, where literally it all came down to a point. And it might just be your fastest lap point that messes people with you. So I'm going to let Colin interview this next driver who is in contention for the championship in P2. I have warned him that this is coming, by the way. So hopefully I just dragged him to the chat. We got our driver who's currently leading the standings in P2. Morgan, can you hear us?
Yes, hello.
Good afternoon, Morgan. How are you feeling for tonight? Have the nerves started settling in yet, or are you quite relaxed at this moment?
I mean, of course, I'm feeling nervous, but I think I have done enough practice. I don't think I can get any faster than I currently am, so we will see how it goes.
So is Brazil a track that you enjoy, or is it one that you tend to struggle around?
No, I quite actually enjoy this one. I think it's a very fun track.
Yeah, I think it's quite like we said on the stream a bit earlier. It is a bit of a fan favorite. So are you going to expecting your teammate to try and help you a little bit, maybe give you a buffer between yourself and Papa?
I mean, of course, I'm relying on him to help me if it comes down to that. However, I feel in this race, sorry Mikey, but he's more of a mental coach for for me this one.
Yeah, it is actually very, very important. I know Mason and Jamie in P3 work very, very well together and able to calm each other down, and certainly if things aren't going their way. Were you surprised to see so many reports from Papa in Circuit of the Americas?
Both yes and no. I understand why he do report. I think he's very right to report the pit wall incident and the last one. However, I do feel the second report that he filed in that just shows that he's also nervous. So hopefully I got into his head.
Yeah, so you're that's the thing, and we've noticed this throughout P1 and P2, that when drivers get a little bit on edge, all of a sudden there's a lot of reports against one particular driver in that tier. But I wish the pair of you the best of luck tonight. And I'm just hoping it's a nice clean race that's decided on the track and not in the steward's room.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, we have warned the drivers to not getting into any fights that could leave the title deciding the stewards room, because we don't want that. I got quite a few questions, but first of all, what have you given Papa, because he's got a sore throat and he's not been able to talk to us today? But what have you given Papa to stop him having stop him talking to us today?
I told Mikey what was going on, and I sent him to do the job. So you'll have to question him later.
You can tell it was probably a jokey question, but there we go. I just wanted to do that. But what he had quite a lot of wins this season. What has been your favourite win?
Oh, I do have to say Belgium, the first one that I had, was my favorite one. I mean, I foughted with Papa pretty much the whole race. It was in mixed conditions as well. So that is probably my favorite one of the season.
Oh, I liked that as well, because I think there was quite a few people that I was hoping to get their first win, and you being one of them. And I think I remember at the end of that race, I was saying to myself, that's not going to be the last win for Morgan, and I was right. So there we go. I think that's my questions. So in fact, I'll let you go and do a bit of practice, because we know it's going to be a dry race. There's no point asking the weather question. So best of luck, Morgan, and may the best driver win, because I think whoever wins, they definitely deserve, because you two are really lovely drivers. So best of luck to the both of you.
Well, thank you.
Right then, so that was P2 out of the way. So let's go on to the P1 drivers, and this is going to be interesting, Colin, because for P2 we've got both drivers in tonight. They confirmed that they're going to be in tonight, so we know that it's going to be quite intense there. We had what I think I found out at the end of qualifying last week, that Ben Mills is not going to be here tonight. He's in Paris. I hope he has a lovely time, but why do you have to miss tonight's race? Because he, but you know, which means the permutations are pretty simple for this driver, Kieran, which we'll speak about in a minute. Kieran needs to finish P3 or above for him to secure the P1 driver's title. If Kieran doesn't get on the podium, that's it. Ben Mills is your champion. And if they end up on countback, Ben Mills will be champion because the amount of wins. So it's a shame Ben Mills is not going to be racing, but Kieran has had a really good comeback drive towards the end of the season. I think the races I think that has definitely impressed me are pretty much the wet races, to be fair. Every time there's been a wet race, he has performed really well.
Yeah, he has really. He's dramatically improved this season as Keys. And like you said, he's only 13 points behind, so with Ben missing, so he needs third place. It's very, very straightforward for Keys. Podium and he gets a title, off the podium and he doesn't get it. So it's quite straightforward for Keys. But it's another, you know, same with Papa when he put in a lot of reports against Morgan. We saw Keys do the same against Ben, which shows that, you know, the stakes are getting higher, and you know the pressure is starting to creep in.
You can tell from the rivalry answers as well, because both of them did respond in the rivalries, and they got a bit feisty between each other, which honestly I was very glad to see, because that's what we wanted in the rivalries in the first place. I'll go through them in a little bit more detail when we do the stream later on, but it seems to me that both of them are getting on each other's skins, and I love that. They're both putting each other under pressure.
Yeah, exactly that. Obviously it's completely out of Ben's hands now, but he's doing his best to try and play the mind games with Keys, and I don't blame him. You know, mind games is part of competitive sport. You know, if you can get under the skin of your competitor, it will be an advantage without a shadow of a doubt. But you can see that Keys has only actually had 5 podiums. So under 50% of the races that we've done, and one win. So it's not going to be a straightforward race for Keys to get on the podium. There's going to be a lot of drivers desperate to end the season on a high. Casper might be able to help Keys out if he's in a position to do so. But it's going to be another really interesting race, and Keys is going to have to be smart, because let's say, for example, he's in second place. He can't afford to go for a banzai maneuver on the leader and have an accident and end up in the wall. So he's going to have to drive intelligently, pick his moments at the best time. He's going to have to do a J-call, as I call it, and pick his moment.
Yeah.
Time it well. Don't do anything overly risky. You know, all right, if you're in 4th place and 5th place, then yeah, he's going to have to go for it. But if he's already in that podium spot, he's got to play it safe, really. But you know, turn 1, that's difficult. You know, lap 1, turn 1, you can't afford to go in there half-hearted. Otherwise, you'll end up facing the wrong way.
I've seen that in PSGL ones. I think it was the first lap. There was one driver in two drivers in title contention. The one chasing for the championship hit the wall in turn 2, and that was it. Championship over. The championship was crowned then, which was a bit of a shame that it ended up like that. So please, let's hope we don't get to that position. But I'm just looking. I have to say, yes, I know Ben's not here, but I have to just say, the amount of wins he's had this season and podiums is insane. So apart from round 1, he would have been up there if he didn't get a puncher. Race 2, win. Race 3, win. Race 4 and 5 did not start. Race 6, win. Race 7, win. Race 8, win. Race 9, P2. Race 10, P4. Race 12, P2. Race 11, sorry, P2. He's never finished out, apart from obviously round 1, he's never finished outside the top 4, which is remarkable. And then Kieran has not finished outside the top 6.
Yeah, exactly that. It's and it's that level of consistency that is why those guys are up there. You know, but
and we got to mention
finding
Marco.
this quite hard. And Marco in 3rd as well. He's had an absolutely brilliant season, I must say.
But he had
without a shadow of a doubt,
disconnect.
Yes, that really hurt him. That was desperately unlucky, because he'd be in this championship hunt as well, without a shadow of a doubt.
Honestly, when I was looking at the chats, I was like, no, not Marco, which is why me and Mike were waffling for like an extra 5-10 minutes, because we were like, oh, what's going on? Let's look at the chat. And we saw Marco's TV was gone, and they couldn't connect to the EA server, so I'm absolutely gutted for him. So I think he would have been up there as well. I could see him fight for the title next season. And we've also got, again, Constructors fight. And it is not just between 2 cars. It's between quite a lot of cars. We've got our Racing Bulls in P1, Williams in P2, and we got McLaren in P3. I have to say, McLaren were definitely the best team out there last week. Jayco and Callum played a perfect team game. That's why both of them got nominated for Driver of the Day last week, because of the team game they played. Those two have an advantage because they don't have a driver's title to contend with, or in the running for, I don't think they're in the running for any driver's prizes, so they can focus on the team game in the constructors. But for Williams and Racing Bulls, Cole, it's a completely different story.
Yeah, it's gonna be, you know, it's another one that's difficult to call. You know, the Visa Cash Apps, they're up there. Yeah, they're. What are they on? How many points have they got? 205. So they're in a good position. But but they can't afford to make a mistake. Now, Kieran's going to be solely focused on his Drivers' Championship, which you'd expect. Casper's going to have to perform, but to be honest, if the Visa Cash apps don't manage to win this, Casper's probably going to look back. I can't remember what race it was, but he retired in the pits on lap 4 or 5. Kota retired, after only a couple of laps, which was very, very silly when it's so close at the top for the constructors.
And like I was saying in the drivers, a singular point could decide the constructors' championship. Yes, the gap looks bigger, but you could look at a race and that could be, that is the race that decides. And you could see with all teams, for Williams and McLaren in particular, the races where they scored the fewest points, that could be the races that be like, that was where we lost the constructors' fight. Yeah, they may not be looking at it in hindsight, but these could be the one to do it. And for both Williams and McLaren, of course, Callum and Ben both missed races. And we know Lukey was struggling towards the end of the season. Lukey's got to play the team game because Williams need a miracle tonight, because I'm almost certain it's going to be between the Racing Bulls and McLarens. Lukey is going to need a Silverstone performance.
Yes, he really could do with getting a podium this evening to help himself and Ben with that Constructors' Championship. It's going to be a tall ask for Lukey, but he's got a podium this season already, so he's proved to himself that he can do it. So his best result since then has been 6th place. So he's going to have to replicate his performance from round 1 to give himself a sniff at the Constructors.
Yep, he does, and he doesn't like the dry. So, and I haven't seen him practice that much, Lukey. So you're probably going to be letting the side down if you don't win the Constructors. Joking. Ben's missing a race tonight, so it's Ben's fault. But best of luck to the Constructors battle, because that's going to be very interesting. But I'm going to ask you for your prediction again, Carl. Can Kieran do it? Can he get 3rd place this evening?
He's more than capable, but he's gonna, I say he needs good luck. He needs to avoid any bad luck, any mistiming of safety cars, contact with other drivers, turn 1, for example. The key thing for Keys is to get a very, very good qualifying lap in, because he does not want to be on a good start. He doesn't want to be in the middle of the pack heading into turns 1 and 2. We've seen incidents in there almost every single season we race around here. There's at least one spinner or half spinner or bit of carbon fiber being thrown away. So it's going to be, but I think Keys will get, I think he'll get 2nd place.
You think he'll get I think he'll get 3rd, not 2nd, but it's going to be really hard for him, because Brazil is a track where you definitely can overtake. I've been in plenty of battles where you can go side by side for absolutely ages and have a lot of fun with it. So Brazil's going to be the hardest track to pretty much not defend your position rather than overtake, really. So it's going to be difficult for Kieran, but I think he could do it. But he just can't afford to make any mistakes. If he gets towards the end of the race, and if he's in 3rd place and the gap behind him is quite big, then he can afford to play it safe. Don't go for any unnecessary moves for P2 in the race. Just focus on the driver's title. We are going to get Kieran in, so we're going to get him to join the VC in just a minute. I'll be interested to hear your thoughts in the chat on who you think is going to win the driver's title. We got thoughts on P2 at least, that he thinks that Mikey thinks Morgan's going to get it, but there you go. That's the thoughts there. It'll be interesting to hear what Mikey's thoughts are of the P1 title. But we do have our championship contender in the pre-race talk show box with us, who is in 2nd place at the moment. Kieran, can you hear us?
Hello, yes I can.
Hello, Kieran. I have to say, how are the nerves feeling for tonight's race?
Yes, I've been nervous about this all day, so and it's
Aw.
only 12 o'clock, so
No, that's good. That's a good thing because it means the adrenaline will be up and your reactions will be better.
yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
So, first of all, I think my first question is, were you expecting to be in a position that you would be fighting for not only the drivers, but the constructors' title?
I think the constructors, I thought me and Casper can win, which I think tonight we can. The championship, amusingly, in Silverstone, I messed up the strategy completely. I could have got a podium, and I believe I came 6th because I messed up the strategy so much. And I said to my friend who was on the pie at the time, it will be fine. I probably won't fight for the championship. These guys are too rapid for me. So to be then fighting for the championship coming into Brazil is... yeah, completely caught me off guard, to say the least.
Honestly, I remember that race quite well in Silverstone, and I was like, it was getting wet, and you were going on to, you were going on the wrong tire anyway, and I was like, no, what are you up to? But the conditions were definitely changing quite rapidly. Even I probably would have made that mistake, Kieran.
Yeah, it did catch me off guard. I thought, oh, it'll be dry. It'll probably dry up till the end of the race, and then, yeah, messed it up completely. My mate was very annoyed with me, and yeah, I was happy with the result at the time as well.
Yeah, because I think that was the lowest you finished all season was P6, as did quite a few races. Of course, the races where you performed very well is the race where a lot of the races where it was absolutely chucking it down. What has been your favourite race so far this season?
Good question. Probably Texas. I quite enjoyed that, even though I didn't win it. Chasing Callum down and trying to keep up with him, constantly setting the same times. That was quite fun. Silverstone was quite fun, even though I didn't get the result I wanted. The fights that I had, yeah, I'd say Silverstone and Texas.
I have to agree with the Texas one because there was many times where you could have even got the race victory, but the pace you showed in the wet was absolutely amazing. So I have to agree with you on that one as well. In terms of Brazil, of course, you know where you need to be in order to win the title. Where do you want to qualify this evening? Surely you want to aim for pole position, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Pole position will be my target. Whether or not I'll be able to get it is another matter. I will be on practice straight from as soon as we're off this call. I'll be on it until the race. Very nervous, but hopefully I'll be able to get pole, and then from there, my issue is the DRS trains are so strong around here that I'd need to get a 1 second gap as soon as possible and then just push to the end. But yeah, hopefully the DRS trains will not affect me too much tonight.
And once you get towards the end of the race and you can see that you're in a position to win the title, are you going to be playing it safe, or are you going to go for moves to climb up positions?
If I'm in 4th and it's the final lap, I will absolutely send it and hope
Yeah,
that it
obviously. I
doesn't
mean,
end
if you're in 3rd or 2nd and you want to go for like 2nd or 1st or something in the race, that's my question.
Oh right. Yeah, I'd just, play it safe. At the end of the day, the result will be more winning the championship than 2nd or 1st. If I'm in 3rd and I can secure it, that's me happy, and I'll be screaming. Yeah, to my amusement of my mum.
Oh, very nice. I think that's what me and Colin were advising you on stream, so I'm glad you're following that advice instead of absolutely sending it. Colin, any questions for Kieran?
Afternoon, Kieran. How are you, mate?
I'm great, you?
Yes, very good. Very excited for tonight. Are you a little bit worried about other drivers being very, very aggressive with you because they know that you're in a championship hunt?
I feel like the McLarens, they were very on it last week. I mean, the fight I had with J-Car was brilliant. They're obviously fighting for the constructors, especially with the result they had last week. I think, at the moment, I think those two are definitely my main concerns. Marco, he's very quick, he's been very consistent throughout the season. He could be a worry as well, but I don't know who else. I feel like them guys. Who else is in the constructors? It's Williams, isn't it?
Yes. So you got Lukey as well.
yeah, Lukey could definitely be in the hunt. So I'll have to be wary of those guys. But yeah, hopefully should be okay.
So is Brazil a track that you enjoy racing round? Is it one of your favourites, or is it one that you're not that keen on?
It used to be. I remember getting in 2021, we did this charity race in one hub, and I got pole position, and I was so shocked.
I remember that.
I haven't done many Brazil races on this game, so I don't know how much I compete towards with everyone else, but I quite enjoy it. So hopefully I'll enjoy it tonight even more with the championship at the end of it.
Yes, exactly that. Well, best of luck to you tonight, mate. And I just can't wait to keep an eye on it. Obviously, I'll be racing with you. But I certainly will be keeping an eye on how the championship's getting on and where you're sitting. So best of luck tonight, and thank you for joining One Hub again. It's great to have you, and I got to say, you have been my driver of the season with your improvements.
Yeah, best of luck.
I've still got my constructors championship from 2020 on my desk.
Oh, nice.
Parker.
Are you going to use that as motivation tonight, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I'm gonna look at it and go, I want another one of these. You don't
plus,
win
plus
many
you want
trophies.
2 trophies. You want the drivers and the
absolutely.
constructors.
Yeah, you don't win many trophies in other leagues, so yeah, this is definitely one I want. And, yeah.
Well, yes, so best of luck tonight, mate. And at least you don't have to deal with any rain, so the strategy will be relatively straightforward, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully no safety cars.
And best of luck. We will see you in practice in about an hour and 10 minutes. I'm sure you're going to be there, aren't you?
I shall be.
Brilliant. We'll see you then. Thanks, Kieran, for joining us.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right then. So that is our champions talked about, and it was very interesting to hear Kieran's thoughts. But now we have to go through the usual stuff before the end of the stream. We've got to talk about engine wear and gearbox wear. This week is even more important, and there's pride at stake for certain drivers, but there's consequences, Cole, if you do not take those penalties. And we'll go through who has taken them in a minute. But if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, I haven't done this and I haven't submitted a ticket, what could these drivers face come the end of the season?
Yeah, so the stewards, if you have not taken your gearbox penalty, the stewards will impose a 10-point deduction. And if you don't take your engine penalty, that will be a 20-point deduction. Now, this point deduction will not only affect the Drivers' Championship, but it will affect the Constructors' Championship as well. So if you're in the hunt for a Constructors or, a top 3, and you haven't taken your engine or gearbox penalties, then you are going to get a points deduction handed to you by the stewards on Thursday.
Yeah, and of course, the people are going to be like, well, that's not fair. Well, you should have read the rules, and it even applies to people that have joined at any part of the season. So even if you joined last week, you were meant to take your engine penalty last week and your gearbox penalty this week. So yes, it may be unfair if you joined last week and expect to take penalties. Those are the rules, unfortunately, and you've got to stick by them. So you can see people very closely in the red, but I'm very pleased to say that quite a few drivers are not going to get those penalties anyway, so they're all good with that one. So the ones taking penalties this week are in P1. We've got Marco taking his gearbox. He would have taken it last week, but due to his disconnection issues, he couldn't take it, so he's taken it this week, but luckily he's in a position that he's able to. Coley is taking a gearbox penalty. Senna taking a gearbox penalty. Alex taking an engine penalty. Callum taking an engine penalty. Now, that's going to be interesting in particular for the constructors. Wakey taking an engine penalty. Nobody's taking engine or gearbox penalties in P2. What a relief for me. I don't have to. I don't have to worry about sorting the grid too much tonight. And then we have Shiesty taking a gearbox penalty and Miles taking an engine penalty. Now, people will be wondering, who's not taken the right amount of penalties? Well, we're not going to say that until Thursday, but I can confirm at least one driver in every tier has not done the requirements for car wear. So at least one driver in each tier is going to be severely penalised. I'm not going to say
exactly
who.
that. Yeah, that will be. So the drivers now are probably quickly looking to see whether they've taken their time penalties, their engine penalties. Sorry, but yeah, this will not be revealed until the stewards report next week.
And it even applies to if you missing a race as well. And if you're missing tonight's race and then you realise, oh, actually, you still yet to take a engine or gearbox penalty, you're probably thinking, oh, I'm going to have a big points deduction my way. And luckily for I can say for some drivers, they're only missing a gearbox penalty, so their penalty is not going to be as huge, but still it's going to be quite huge. But in particular in P3, we've got drivers that are going to be severely penalised for that. So, yeah, I think I'm not going to say who, because otherwise we'll give away if they're fighting for the constructors or not. But there we go. But it's now time for the most important part of the stream. It's going to be an anticlimactic because, of course, it's going to be a dry race. But it's going to be the weather, Cole. So, for the final time, Cole, what is the adaptive weather system?
So our adaptive weather system that we use here at OneHub has a number of weather scenarios, each for qualifying and the race, with all of the selections available: dry, light rain, heavy rain, overcast. Once those scenarios are used, they are removed from the wheel, and then the following week we'll spin it again. Now there is a maximum of 4 wet qualifying and 4 wet race sessions. We have used the maximum of 4, so we are only having the availability of dry weather, but that does involve overcast and cloudy as well.
Yes. So to make it fair, because we don't want the entirety of the races to be wet. But there was only 2 other options anyway, so it didn't really make much difference. And pretty much we got no race next week, so once we've done those combinations, the others get deleted. So that's it. So let's get going then. For the final time, we're going to spin the wheel for the adaptive weather system in quali. Now, it's a shame that we haven't had we haven't let the other ones go down to the final race with the wet affected systems. I would have loved it at least for it to go to Brazil, but that's the beauty of the wheel sometimes. So without further ado, because I got to have some lunch soon, so we've got to be quick, let's spin the wheel. And the weather for qualifying is light clouds, Colin.
Ooh. So that might help the tyres a little bit, but obviously not going to get up to temperature as easily.
Yeah, so that is quali. So I don't even need to save that because, yeah, that's it. So that is quali done. We're now going to move on to the race affected conditions. So here we go. So it is clear to light clouds to overcast, and I worded it wrong, so I do apologise. But yeah, it is clear to light cloud to overcast. Quite similar conditions.
Yes, quite similar. So that should help the drivers a little bit with their tyre wear, because the tyres aren't going to get too hot. You would have thought, but the drivers don't have to contend with any rain. So I think certainly the drivers fighting for championships are probably going to be happy with that anyway.
Yeah, they are. They're going to be absolutely relieved. And for the ones, I think pretty much all the drivers' championship contenders don't have any penalties at all. So at least they can focus on qualifying and getting a good result. So that is the final episode of the pre-race talk show. Of course, we've got the end of season stream next week, but that is the final pre-race talk show of the season. And to be honest, Cole, I have had a lot of fun doing this season. Have you?
Yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant. Great to talk to some of the drivers. in the box as well. That's been brilliant. And it really has built up the hype, especially with the weather. So thank you for everyone who's joined the pre-race shows, and good luck to every driver involved this evening. And
especially
Nick
the
and I,
championship contenders.
Yes, especially the championship contenders. And Nick and I will see you for our first race this evening in the P3 tier at 4:30.
Yeah, make sure you join us for that. 4:30 for P3 tier, 6 p.m. for P2 tier, and 7:30 for P1 tier. It's a session not to be missed this evening. And make sure you leave us feedback about the pre-race talk show and what would you like to see for the pre-race talk show next season, because we are looking at ways to improve. And of course, thank you to our other co-hosts who joined us this season, Nick, of course, and Solal and J. Cole as well. So thank you to all three of you for joining us as hosts at some point. J. Cole taking the lead role whilst I was away in Brands Hatch, so I do appreciate you, J. Cole, for that. But we'll see you for the first stream at 4:30. But if you want to do some practice, join us at 2 o'clock. Make sure you be in the social racing channel. But for now, enjoy your lunch, and we will see you at 4:30 for the first Brazil race of this evening. Take care, everyone. We'll see you then. Goodbye.